I'm Zach Geller, and I'm a candidate. And today I'm interviewing Steve Ellman about his course being offered in the Freudian track. So, Steve, you mentioned you had prepared a couple things you could say about the class to share with candidates. Why don't you go ahead?
Well, the class is a derivative of a book that I wrote called When Theories Touch. Book came out, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. But I'm writing, or in the midst of writing a new book called When Clinical Positions Touch. That probably won't be the name of it. Hopefully, there'll be a better name than that. Um, but essentially, what the course attempts to do is to try to look at a variety of positions and try to feel why a clinician would come forth with a position, a clinician like Winnicott or Kohut, or Klein in a different way, who really, Klein to Betty Joseph, who took transference in a different perspective, and try to see how these positions touch and whether a more complete idea of a clinical position could be developed. So the class really goes over 5 or 6 positions, and tries to include some questions that relational theorists ask and try to answer some of those questions from what I consider to be a contemporary Freudian position. Um, so my real thinking about this started a long time ago with Sandler's position, when Sandler, started saying, most of us have a public theory that we talk about, and then we have a private theory that we probably believe in somewhat more. And then we have a theory that we're really not sure of. That really has to do with unconscious aspects of how we perceive or move about clinically. And I began to think, well, what made various theorists start to question the public theory that was present at a given point? How did it feel to them? Why was their private experience different enough so that, in effect, they went public with it? And so, from my perspective, somebody who's developing their clinical point of view should try to feel what these other points of view are and how they feel in their clinical journey, but also with different kinds of patients. So it's clear someone like Kohut developed a particular position based on, I think, his correct understanding of Freud's position on narcissism, which Freud left in effect. Just as I think Winnicott has taken some positions like that. And it feels to me someone like Bion has taken a position, Bion, who I see as probably the ultimate reader of Kleinian theory and someone who sees the limitations of some aspects of how Klein dealt with her theory. And so I see Bion as someone who, in a sense, has gone somewhat public, not completely, to really put into effect some limitations of a Kleinian position. I think a more contemporary writer like Ron Britton, I think, has done the same thing, has left. So the course is about these different positions and how do they touch and how can we integrate them and develop a more complete theory. I think
One thing that occurs to me as you talk is that some of your development of the course had to do with observing people's private theories becoming more into the public discourse, and something about private theories and public theories. So maybe you could tell me if you think this is true. Would this be a course where candidates can further develop their private theory as they interact with the readings and with you?
Well, that's the hope. So in this class, as opposed to when I've taught the class a while ago, both at NYU and other places, it's going to be more clinical, less theoretical. Still, we're going to have to touch on the theory and see how people, what kind of framework people are putting their positions in. But the hope is that people will start looking at their private theories. But even more than that, looking at, an intervention they've made and they don't really quite understand why they've made that intervention.
Yes.
It's something I think that I'm always interested in. I did something, it seemed to be effective, but I don't really know where I place that. And so how do I think about it? And that begins to have me starting to think about some aspect of my private theory that I haven't quite understood.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like the kind of class people are asking for, which is a clinical one and a theoretical one and a good mix. And I think our mission was to keep it to 5 minutes, so we'll
Okay,
stop. Thank you for doing it. I'll stop the recording.
thank you for
Yeah.
taking the time.